for the region in Sumatra. Jambi Djambi is a board game and a chess variant for 4 players, invented by Jean Anesto in 1975. The rulebook in French describes the game, the pieces and the rules in a humorous and theatrical way, clearly stating that the game pieces intend to represent all wrongdoings in politics. Rules. Material. The game is played on a 9x9 board whose central square is marked with a different color or a sign. Each player has 9 pieces. Some killers, 1 chief, 1 assassin, 1 reporter, 4 militants. Some movers, 1 diplomat that moves living pieces. It's a very useful piece at the beginning of the game, also called agitator, or troublemaker. 1 necromobile that moves corpses. Important piece in end of game, as dead pieces stay as corpse on the board in this game. Objective. The objective of the game is to get absolute power by being the last chief alive on board. Although informal alliances can be temporarily agreed upon, there is no team. Each player plays against the other players. Start position. The pieces are placed in each corner of the board as shown in the picture above. Order of play is red, blue, yellow, green. Movements. Each player, at his/her turn, moves one of his/her pieces, and can possibly capture a piece in this way. The militants move of 1 or 2 squares in the 8 directions. The other pieces can move through any number of squares in the 8 directions. A piece cannot jump above another piece. Captures. The pieces are killed as soon as they are captured, but their corpses stay on the board. The militant kills by occupying the square of a piece. He places the corpse on an unoccupied square of his choice, except on the central square. A militant cannot kill a chief in power. The chief kills and places the corpse in the same way as the militant. The assassin kills in the same way as the militant, but places the corpse in the square he comes from. This is the symbol that corpses by assassin tend to mess space at home in politics. The reporter kills by occupying one of the 4 squares next to the square of the piece he wants to kill. The corpse stays in his square. The reporter can only kill at the end of his move. That means that if he is moved by the diplomat, he must move again before killing, and so cannot kill a piece that is directly orthogonal to him at the beginning of his move. The reporter can move without killing. The diplomat and the necromobile cannot kill the other pieces but can move them. The diplomat can move another living piece by occupying its square. The piece is placed on any unoccupied square. The necromobile acts like a diplomat, but only with the dead pieces. The corpses cannot be placed in the maze. Death and surrounding of a chief. When a player kills the chief of another player, she takes control of the remaining living pieces of this one. At his/her turn, she will have the choice between using one of his/her own pieces, or using one of the captured pieces. When a player has no necromobile and his chief is surrounded by corpses, he is eliminated. His/her pieces now belong to the chief in power. If there is no chief in power, then the pieces cannot be moved or killed, until the moment when a chief takes the power, and captures them in that way. The maze. The central square of the board is called the maze. Each piece can go through this square, but the chief is the only piece that can stop on it. A chief who is in the maze is a chief in power. He plays 1 time after each player. For instance, if there are 4 players, he plays 3 times in a turn. When he leaves the maze, he loses this power. A chief in power takes control of the pieces of the surrounded chiefs, and keeps them after losing the power. A chief in power cannot be killed by a militant. The surrounding has no effect on him as long as he stays on the maze. An assassin, a troublemaker, or a necromobile can go in the maze to kill or move a living chief or a chief corpse. The piece must make an additional move immediately, in order to leave the maze. The original rule humoristically states that it's done to avoid things like an assassin empowered in the maze. It is done in this order. The piece goes in the maze and the chief is removed from the board. The piece makes its free move to get out of the maze. The chief corpse is placed back on the board following the usual rule. This order of actions allows to place the chief corpse between the maze and the new position of the acting piece. alliances and betrayals. There can be informal agreements or alliances between the players, but there is no rule to prevent any betrayal. End of the game. The game ends when a player has killed the chiefs of all of the other players. Variants. 3-player variant. The pieces of the missing fourth player are hostages. These pieces can be killed or moved by the pieces of the players. When the chief is captured, the normal rules to take control of them apply. The hostage chief can be placed in the maze, but it has no influence on the game. 5-player variant. There is a 5-player variant of Jambi, called Machiavelli.